So in today's lecture, we're going to talk about authentication and authorization. Basically, this is the way that we enter a network in the authorized manner. So AAA, authentication, authorization, and accounting. That's where we're going to go. Authentication, authorization, and accounting is a standards-based framework used to control and track network access. We know who's on the network, who's been on the network, and who is authorized to be on the network because they have credentials. Identity and access management, or IAM, is also identity management just by itself, is a framework of technologies and policies for managing user identities in a system and controlling user access. Essentially, these are groups, these are permissions. There are a lot of different things that provide the user's identity and also what privileges and permissions the user has. A user is typically a person, but it could be an application. It can be a process, can be a device. All those things can be users. Typically, anything that accesses the network, whether it's a person or an application or a device, has to have an account, has to have some kind of authentication, has to have a username and a password. Identification is the act of a user claiming an identity. Basically, I have a username, and that was issued to me by an authority of some kind, network administrator or whatever, and that person's authority is what gives me validity on the network. They're saying, yes, I know this person, and he's who he says he is. Username is a unique sequence of characters assigned to a user. That's what identifies me on the network. That, in conjunction with a password, allows me to log into the network. A certificate is a digital credential that binds the identity of the user to a cryptographic key. So a certificate can go to a person, or it can also go to a website. Let's say I get a website and I want to do business. I want to take credit card information over the internet. Well, I need to get a certificate which connects me as a person to my website so that people who go there and put their credit card information in have at least a reasonable amount of security and can be comfortable in the fact that I'm who I say I am, that I'm going to use their information for what I say I'm going to use it for, and I'm not going to just empty out their bank account or max their credit card. A token is a physical device assigned to a user that can generate a unique code, usually in the form of a flash drive. You can put that into a computer, and that can also authenticate you to a network. SSH key is a cryptographic key pair. You have a public key and a private key. This is asymmetrical cryptography that we learned about a couple of modules ago. Smart card is a card with an embedded chip that's assigned to a user. As long as the user has the card, then they are able to log on to the network or to enter a building or to do whatever that card allows them to do. An attribute is a specific characteristic of an identity. I might be an administrator, or I might be a power user, or I might just be a regular user, but those would be attributes. Don't forget participation activities. Authentication is the act of verifying. I put my username and my password in, and I may have to go to a secondary means of identification, use my phone or something to respond to a message, but that means I've authenticated onto the network. Authentication factors are types of evidence. Could be biometric, my fingerprint, my retinal print, could be a password, username. There are lots of different kinds. The protocol are the rules designed to securely transfer authentication between two parties. I may need to send a private key to somebody, and so there are rules for that. Authorization then is the act of granting the user access to system resources. So when I authenticate, and if my authentication proves out, then I am authorized to act on the network. I can access files on the server. I can use the printers or whatever. The subject is an entity that wants access before they are a user. They are a subject. And then an object is something on the network like a file or a folder or a printer that the user wants access to. An access control model, that's a set of technology-independent rules for controlling the subject's access. Accounting basically is keeping records. Everything has to balance out. Accounting monitors and captures user events while accessing network resources. So it's a forensics thing, keeps me from doing anything bad on the network. Separation of duties, SOD, is the division of labor ensuring that no one person by themselves can jeopardize data integrity. You don't want anybody to have complete control over particularly vital data like sales data or credit card data or customer lists, things like that that the company depends on. No one who is able to delete should be able to edit, and no one who's able to edit should be able to delete, things like that. You want there to be a separation of labor. You want no one to be able to completely wipe out the company. You don't want people that have maybe editing privileges or edit delete privileges. You don't want those people to have access to the backups, because then they could delete the usable copies and then they could also delete the backups. So you don't want anybody to have that much power. All right, so that's basically authorization, authentication. If you have any questions, let me know. Okay, I can be reached through the Canvas inbox or ask me in class if you have questions. Remember to stay caught up with quizzes and make sure that you're keeping up, especially with participation activities, because they are a part of the grade. So if you have any questions, please let me know.